Let's bring him on.
Go ahead,
I'm ready
Jackson.
for
Bring him on.
Ron.
Introduce our guest, man.
Here we go. Here is Ryan Herrings from Locked On Badgers. Let's
Y'all give it up. Come on. Let's give. What up, Ryan? How you feeling, man?
Man, better than I deserve. I get to talk football with y'all. Let's go. Can't wait for this Saturday already.
Hey, I'm excited to have you here, man. We don't get a chance. Well, I don't get the chance to interact with many Wisconsin fans, so that's a perk of being a part of this whole network, Voice of College Football. Getting the chance to tap in with some locked on guys, man. So for everybody that doesn't know who this is, Ryan, let everybody know who you are and where they can find your content before we get into our discussion tonight, brother.
Yeah, no, really appreciate that. Locked On Badgers, YouTube. You find that on audio platforms, wherever you want to get that. It's really available everywhere. On Twitter at Ryan and Bucky, talking Big Ten basketball, football, Badgers, and occasionally some IPAs and some brats as well. So it's all there. And I'm, again, excited to be here to talk with y'all.
100%, man. Glad to have you along for the show tonight, man. Let's see if we can get another layout. I'm gonna get another layout created. But first things first, give us a rundown because we being in the Southeast, we don't get to follow much of what's happening in Wisconsin on a close scale. Coming into 2025, what were the expectations for Wisconsin Badger football? And then after, 3 weeks officially, but 2 weeks of gameplay, I think you all had. What do you see this team right now coming into this week 3 matchup against the University of Alabama?
Yeah, so coming into this year, coming off a 5-win season last year, obviously Coach Fickell was brought in to elevate the program. And that's one of the worst seasons from a record standpoint Wisconsin's had in 20 years. Missed a bowl game for the first time in 20 plus years. Wisconsin has been one of the most consistent programs in college football. Certainly not the ceiling of what Alabama's done, but they've always won 6, 7, 8, 9 games. So coming in this year, it was about getting back to Wisconsin football, run the ball, be a little more physical, play offense that makes sense and looks like Wisconsin. And then on defense, be a little more disruptive. This was not a defense last year that was very disruptive, that got after the quarterback. They've changed some of those things this year already. So 2 games in, the Badgers are on pace to be a pretty disruptive defense. They added to the front 7 in the portal. Now, much like last year, if you all remember, Bama came up to Wisconsin. By the way, let me say, I had Wisconsin Badger fans tell me that they had an incredible time interacting with Bama fans. So hat tip to y'all. They love the interactions.
Hey, listen, we had plenty of Bama fans just bragging about the hospitality of going up there last year. I tell you, and I think there was a matchup. I want to say early 2010-ish, 12, something like that, Wisconsin, Bama. But we've never had bad interaction.
2015, we played out Wisconsin to start off the Paul Chryst era for Wisconsin, and it was the national title season for Alabama.
Yeah.
And, we play each other in 1928, the year before the Great Depression started.
Not a long history. So Badger fans were pretty excited to interact with Bama fans, which I thought was really cool. These out-of-conference matchups are really fun in a lot of ways because you get these fan bases from a great program like Bama getting to come to Camp Randall. And I know Badger fans are excited to go down to Bryant-Denny. But, for another year, like last year, the Badgers lost their starting quarterback. They've lost their starting quarterback again this year. So we're already on quarterback number 2. It feels like every season this happens to the Badgers, but they did do a better job this offseason insulating the quarterback spot for injury. So Danny O'Neal's the Badgers quarterback. That's who you're going to see come down to Bryant-Denny. They haven't officially said Billy Edwards isn't going to play. He's the starting quarterback for the Badgers that's hurt, but it looks like Danny O'Neal's going to be the guy. He's pretty mobile. And if you kind of look at what week 1, a little bit of what Florida State was able to give Alabama a little bit of trouble with was a mobile quarterback, a guy who can move the pocket. Danny O'Neal for the Badgers will do a little bit of that. He uses his legs. He gets out of the pocket. He runs a little recklessly. He's not a big guy, and he's going to have to be careful playing against the Bama defense that has athletes that he gets down and he slides when appropriate. But he's a fun quarterback, pretty accurate. Last week, 23 of 27, a couple touchdowns, moved the ball pretty well. So, the Badgers have struggled on the offensive line this year, but the defense looks better, and they're feeling pretty good about the quarterback spot considering they lost their starter.
That's good to hear because I always see that as a Bama fan, regardless of who the opponent is, I want to see my team tested in areas where I've seen a struggle with. And we talked on this panel last week about our inside linebacker play, and having to deal with another quarterback that's confident in his mobile abilities is going to help us continue to get better, and really to see if this system that Kane Womack has brought in, a new system, as far as schematically how things are fit or how we play assignments, especially in the run game. It's a new style, and I think Wisconsin is going to give us enough reps of that, to allow us to see if we're really improving. So let's get into the breakdown of things. And if you all, once again, if you haven't followed Ryan, make sure y'all go follow him. That was a very informative side of things, because I didn't even see that their guys, that they lost their starting quarterback. What's up, Jackson?
Yeah, I was going to say, follow Ryan Herrings at Ryan and Bucky on @/Twitter, where you can get your top-notch Wisconsin expertise.
100%, man. And so let's kind of get into some of the matchups and things that we're looking forward to. Jeffrey, when you look at the fronts, and we know that the game usually starts in the trenches for most teams, and I think Wisconsin really wants to try to keep it there, on both sides of the ball. They want to try to keep Bama on the ground, and then I think the same for Alabama. They would like to keep Wisconsin on the ground, being able to add a lot of assets. We saw Bray Hubbard playing in the box this past weekend. Looking at the trenches, though, where do you see the advantage or the disadvantages for either side of the ball, Jeffrey?
Well, I mean, I think Wisconsin at large, I'd like to talk that really quick before I get to that. When you look at Wisconsin, they're a program that, to me, was so consistently good because of the West. They were in the West, and it fit that brand of football. And then now that things have changed, college football is trending in a different direction, and it's more of a passing-oriented style versus run-oriented. And the West is gone. Wisconsin's playing a tough schedule like everyone else. They've struggled. Iowa's figuring that out. Wisconsin, Minnesota, those type of programs are struggling. Wisconsin is a proud program that has a lot of success in the past, but they're in a transition period of trying to figure out where they're at right now and how they're going to navigate. So when I look at this year's team, Wisconsin's still trying to figure out whether they're going to be a pass-oriented team or a run-oriented team. They've got, as you mentioned, Ryan, Danny O'Neal now, the backup quarterback, who does offer a lot, more so than, Tyler Van Dyke last year, who I think would have given Wisconsin a better season if he hadn't have gotten hurt. I agree with that. But still, Wisconsin was stuck in a gray area because he was a passing quarterback and they did not have a lot of weapons. They just did not. They still don't. But now you've got Danny O'Neal that kind of gives you that, being able to run. Billy Edwards did too. He can do both, but he got hurt. But Danny O'Neal is very capable. But Alabama, even though we have been giving up more to running quarterbacks, I don't know if Danny O'Neal is as dynamic as some of the guys that have given us trouble in the past. So if we can just not allow him to do what Jackson Arnold did last year, where he ran for over 100 yards on us, I think we'll be okay. I want Wisconsin to run the ball because of the fact that if they try to run up the middle, our D line's probably going to be fine as long as we're playing with effort. It's more so if Wisconsin tries to mix it up, run to the outside, reverses, like Florida State did. Gus Malzahn mixed that up a lot. If Wisconsin gets vanilla with it, we'll be fine in that regard. If Wisconsin cannot stretch the field at all in the passing game, it is going to be very hard for them because even Florida State with Castellanos was able to throw the ball on us, even though they were running more. So Wisconsin's going to have to throw in the game. They can't just run. I know that, for Alabama on that side of the ball, I think Wisconsin can give us some pressure because they do have some good defenders. I do think that we'll be able to mostly withstand that. Our O-line isn't still perfect, but if they do a good enough job, I think that as long as we can run decently enough, if we can run the ball 25, 30 times and have like 4 yards of carry, 3.5, 4 yards of carry, that will be enough for our offense to be fine because we got the passing game with Horton and whether Williams is back or not, and Bernard, et cetera, to be fine there. But yeah, Wisconsin, I mean, they're a better team, I think, this year. They look good. They're going to give us some issues. I mean, they would have been better last year and given us a more competitive game if Tyler Van Dyke didn't get hurt. But Wisconsin's just kind of stuck as a program. They're trying to figure it out. And I hope Fickell gets the time to do it.
Pretty good take. So when I look at this, Ryan, when I look at the matchup, I think where the chances are to make this a game is definitely in the trenches. You look at the depth at Wisconsin. They've always, like Jeff was saying, they've prided themselves on being physical up front, being able to stay with the run game and stop the run game defensively. So I look at your front, man. You got a lot of veteran presence there, and we've seen veteran presence be a thing that this offensive line has struggled with under Kalen DeBoer and this new staff and the system. They've struggled with veteran defensive lines. You've seen the defensive line on our defensive side struggle with veteran offensive lines. And that's the thing that you got going for yourself coming into this game. I know you don't have your preferred quarterback starting, but when you can slow the game down, you can give aggressive play callers, especially on the defense side, you can give them a lot of problems. You're slowing the game down. You're forcing guys to really slow down and make reads and read off guards and look at their keys. And you're taking 20 seconds between each snap to really slow down and make guys think you're giving small shifts here and there. You're moving the extra offensive lineman unbalanced. We're going to get all of that from Wisconsin. So I think when you look at this matchup, a lot of people really need to focus on the matchups in the trenches. If Wisconsin can withstand their depth of rotation from Alabama's defensive line, and Alabama can't be as effective rotating their offensive line like they want to do, those 6 or 7 offensive linemen that they want to get into the offensive floor and rotation, and we can't be effective in our balance as far as run game effectiveness and passing effectiveness, this could be a tight game going into the third or fourth quarter, and you will really have to rely on playmakers making bigger plays than what should happen, if you're not able to stay balanced. So I think the balance in this game comes from the trenches. Ryan, what's your thoughts on you guys' front, especially on the defense? I really think that's where you guys can make this a slower game defensively up front. You guys can really get some pressures on some of the things that I saw from our offensive line coming out of week 1 and week 2.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, that's a really good point. The Badgers' defensive front this year has been really good. So week 1, they had a time of possession of about 38 minutes because that defense forced Miami of Ohio to go 0 for 9 on third downs. So the defensive front for Wisconsin, they made a point this offseason to get bigger and deeper. There's 5 or 6 guys that are 300 plus. There's a lot of juniors, seniors. Really, 2 of the best players on the defense. Mason Reiger is going to be a defensive end. He is a pass rushing bag. He's going to play in the league. He had 4 pressures last week. Pro Football Focus grade of 90.2, led the defense, all Big Ten type guy. He's really good. 2 years ago, he was at Louisville, gave Miami issues, gave Notre Dame issues, had an injury-plagued season last year, went to the portal, came to Wisconsin. He's been a revelation. He's really good. Relentless pass rusher. And then at linebacker, they have a couple really nice inside linebackers that are physical. They'll come downhill. They're veteran players. And then they just have a bunch of 300, 315 pounders across that front. So the defensive line has felt really improved for Wisconsin. They've gotten pressure. They've gotten disruption. They've been able to play more downhill. And as everyone on this panel knows, like there's ball knowers on this panel.
Yeah.
You can dictate to the offense. You can put them in 2nd and 9. And then suddenly that play action game that Bam was really good at. Simpson is really good at that. That doesn't play in 2nd and 9, 3rd and 7. So that part of it, I think the Badgers feel good about going down to Bryant-Denny. On the other side is where Wisconsin has issues. On the other side, we talked about the trenches. The trenches are both sides. Wisconsin, before the season, lost their left tackle. Big loss for them. Before last week, they lost their center. And they shifted 4 guys around. So the right tackle went to left tackle. The guard flipped out to right tackle. 2 new guys made a start. They averaged 0.3 yards per carry in the first half against Middle Tennessee State. The Wisconsin offense line is not in a great spot right now.
Right.
Mostly due to injuries. They haven't been able to get push. For a couple games in a row, they've had issues with the running game, specifically the interior run game, and it's a major concern for the Badgers this week. We're not sure if our starting center will be back. If he is, that makes a massive difference to this team. If he's not, I don't know how the Badgers run the ball. And if you don't run the ball on Bryant-Denny, you don't win.
And I think that's where the key the key points will be, because Bama fans, we want to see Bama run the ball. We want to see be more effective in the run game, and we want to see the run game be stopped by the opponent. So this is going to be a test of identities right here. Coming into this matchup, when I first look at it, just the matchup in itself, and like we like to bring history into these matchups. But what we've seen from teams like Iowa State this year, the way that they're able to transition and turn on a switch and have a pass game going, and then get back to what we've seen them be over the past few years, and that's a strong, tough running team living with the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and putting you in the situations, those 3rd and 5s or 3rd and 3s where it's pass or run equal opportunity. Like I like to see those matchups like that for Bama's defense. just personally speaking, so that we can see what the play calling looks like in those situations. And I think, like you said, with you're not running out there with your true QB1. I think this is another opportunity for Bama's defensive play caller, Kane Womack, to really come into this game and focus on how do we attack? How do we become aggressive in our nature of play calling on a more consistent basis? That's where your success is going to be. Jeffrey, thoughts about where we're at concerning this matchup so far with the trenches. I think that's with the offensive line for the Badgers missing. What are some defensive linemen guys or guys on the defensive front of Alabama that could really take advantage of opportunities like this coming into this game?
James Smith. I mean, James Smith set the tone early in the game against UL Monroe. And Wisconsin is a better team than UL Monroe by far. But if Wisconsin's having a lot of offensive line issues, that means he's probably going to have a field day. I think that is very dangerous for Wisconsin if they cannot run the ball and they start getting behind and they have to throw every time, then Danny O'Neal is going to be running for his life. And like you said, you don't want him getting hurt because he's having to run around. Because especially Wisconsin's had injury issues at quarterback recently. So it's not a good sign at all. Wisconsin's going to have to be able to run the ball. And if James Smith is eating it up and, Tim Keenan could be back, we don't know for sure if he's going to be back or not. But if he's back, that's going to make it even worse. I don't know. Wisconsin used to pride themselves on O-line play. That's the sad thing. They were so great at offensive line. I mean, they still have – you watch NFL games, and they're rattling off Wisconsin offensive linemen. I mean, that's how great they were. They got to get back to that. I know we're looking from the Alabama perspective, but I want Fickle to succeed. I like the guy. I want him to succeed, but it's just not going well.
He's a cold dude.
A 2-0 start. And, maybe if they're competitive against Alabama, it will definitely look good. But you got to have the center for sure. As you mentioned, Ryan, definitely. You don't want to have a backup center for sure. But Alabama, our defensive line played very hungry, last week. And I think that those guys are going to be really hungry when they see a definite weak offensive line. Even if Tim Keenan is not in, I think we'll be fine because James Smith, like I said, I think will set the tone. But if they're both there, then it's going to be interesting to see if Wisconsin can hold up.
100%, man.